A bunch of odds and ends I'm going to dump in a video. I'm going to have a bunch of stuff I'm going to talk about, try to get this done before the battery goes dead. Let's get it done. The tube magazine fed gun. Some of you might already know about this. Rifles and even BB guns can be fed by a tube magazine or a hopper magazine. Air guns do this. You can find paintball guns that do this. Well, 2.4 millimeter or .177 inch caliber air gun pellet rifle. Steel BBs are .175 inch caliber or 4.4 millimeter, and 4.5 millimeter lead shot exists that's 1.77 inch or caliber. So 17.7 or 17.5 caliber, or .177 inch or .175 inch, or 4.4 or 4.5 millimeter. Now, here's the deal. You can look up Red Ryder, BB gun, and all that. I'm going to have a set of links below. But the original BB gun, if you don't know about it, had 1,000 or 600 and something BBs in that barrel that was about the same size as a 12-gauge shotgun. Yeah. What that was you'd put in literally shot from shotgun shells, and they sold the shot, it was BB guns, pellets, in a cartoonishly large shotgun shell with a black base instead of the copper base, and a red tube instead of a, you get the idea, or yellow tube. And it was made to be about the same size and shape as a shotgun shell. And what you do is you'd empty it into it, and it had a metal tube down the middle that was a 17 caliber. And it had a scoop on it that would take all of the pellets from inside of this thing, it was in the bottom of it, and scoop it towards its breech. And when you'd pull back on the handle, you rake it forward and rake it back. It would pull back on a piston and allow a BB to fall into there, if you were lucky. It usually did. Sometimes they even used magnets. And they would bring this plunger back almost to the same point and stop. And this would create a pulse of air when you release the trigger and fire the BB out. But it could hold 600 or 1,000 shots. Now there's 60 shot air guns. Well, pellet guns now use a Diablo shape, or whatever it's called. It has a round head on it, looks like a standard BB, and then it has a skirt on it that's open at the back so that the air pressure causes the skirt to flare out, grab the sides, and actually engage rifling. But that means you can't have 600 shots. Well, yes, you can. You can set it up to where the interior of a big barrel like that, if you want to, contains dozens and dozens of little feed tubes that are made to hold all those pellets. This would be a tube magazine fed pellet gun. Hear me out. One of the ways that people make a magazine for a pellet gun, because they're usually single shot, you break them open, put the pellet in, close it, is to put a little wheelie bobber in it so it's a revolver. And you pull the trigger with an air tank, and it pushes air through, basically, same thing as a revolver, like you've all seen on TV, and then it rotates it one notch. Well, here's an interesting idea. What if right next to this barrel that it's firing out of, right underneath it is another barrel that lines up with the bottom of the this rotating cylinder? And every time you fire it, the puff of air fires this way, and the spring-loaded thing fills in the empty socket down here so you get more bullets. You can have 60 shots in a tube magazine. That's the standard length most of them are 10 or 12 inches in barrel length, which is considered pretty much optimum for air guns. That means you could have, many, many shots in a barrel. 60 shots or maybe even hundreds. The spring-based air gun is more efficient if you use the 12 or 10 inch barrel. And the longer barrel on the Daisy toy guns were about 2 feet. I vaguely remember that. That would give maximum acceleration in most cases. This is spring-loaded and air-driven. There were also impact-driven types that would literally hit the back of the BB. And if it was a lead shot one, which is the original one of them that was designed that way, it would hit it and push form it into a tiny bullet shape that would actually come out of the barrel mostly like a bullet. It was mostly done just because it was kind of interesting that it could do that. Next. 304 stainless steel tube. These are a bunch of notes I left to myself. North American Arms 5-shot 22 caliber pistol exists. I'm supposed to look it up. I was going to do a video on it. But 304 stainless steel tubing is a grade of tubing that's used for a lot of air guns. A lot of other things too. In the movie, In the Line of Fire, 1993, John Malkovich was shown on camera firing a .38 Special non-metal handgun. It was made out of plastic tubing or composite materials. They didn't really get to the details on it. This composite material zip gun used making model making skills to evade metal detectors, and he hid the bullets and the springs, the only other metal parts, in a keyring rabbit's foot so that would set off the metal detectors. Now I'm just going to bring this up really quickly. They made a working gun, and it looks like it was made out of cardboard or wood, and it fired 2 bullets. They did it on camera. They cleared the set and had Malkovich fire what looks like you would do. He fired blanks, really powerful, loud blanks out of the thing. After they got done with it, to satisfy ATF rules, they had to get permission to build this thing. They chopped it up into 3 pieces so that it couldn't be fired again. The only working copy of the one that was actually functional, that's been chopped up, someone got a hold of it. It's exactly what was shown in the movie. Is the movie a munition? Just saying. Now that's most of my notes. I'm going to check a few things here. Yeah, let's try some more here. Okay. Here we go. All Title II firearms are required to be marked, regardless of whether you are a manufacturer or maker. A maker is an ordinary person making a weapon. A manufacturer is doing it for sales. If you're selling something, you have to mark it at all times because it's considered, well, that's required. But federal law does not prohibit an individual from making a fully functional Title I conventional firearm. Just don't do anything unusual for his or her own use. For his or her own, for your usage. You do not need a federal firearms license to manufacture a gun or have any training as a gunsmith, which is bad. Does not require a homemade gun to have identifying marks as long as it remains in possession of the original maker, period, full stop. If it ever changes hands or might, you should. The ATF suggests all homemade, personally made, not manufactured, firearms be marked with a serial number as a safeguard in the event the firearm is lost or stolen. And it requires it if the gun is otherwise lawfully transferred in the future or even sold. Yes, you can technically sell them, but it has real limits on it. Don't do it. But you can give it away. Or do what I did when I actually made one a long time ago. Cut the damn thing up the middle and then scrap the damn thing. Because I don't want it landing in anybody's hands and me being tracked to it. And yeah, I marked it up. I'll tell you how I did it. A licensed manufacturer or licensed importer of firearms must legibly identify each firearm manufactured and or if it meets the definition of a firearm. This is the funny thing, is if you make a firearm like a Mossberg or Mooseburger or moose knuckle hand wave, shockwave, if you make a gun that isn't a gun, it's called a firearm. It absolutely has to be, because if it's anything kind of outside of the range of being a standard pistol or rifle, they want you to mark it. Serial number, city, state, your name. You can also do a GPS string, location. Your social security number, don't do that. But you could put other information on it. It has to be uniquely identified. You can also request the ATF give you a unique identifier code so you don't have to put your name on it if you don't want to. They have the data. Someone has to ask the ATF, what do the numbers mean? Because it's an ATF number. That's actually done. Because maybe you want to make guns, but you don't want to be associated with them because you're running a business and don't want Joe Schmo over here having the name on it. You want it to be Smith & Wesson oil. So anyway, next. Manufacturers licensed and build guns for commercial sales and profit. Makers are not licensed to build guns for personal use or for hobby. That's actually allowed. This was confirmed by Firearms Industry Program Branch of Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms Explosives, BATF, Firearms Enforcement Specialist L. Babby, 2016. This applies only to federal laws of the United States. None of this applies to any state or local laws. I'm sorry if you're Californicated. There's nothing I can do to fix it. Many cities are doing this. You could even be in a neighborhood that requires it. There's a neighborhood, I forgot where it is. Oh yeah, Washington, D.C. Next. I'm going to be doing videos on my other channel about other things besides the guns. It's always the guns, Waptec. But I wanted to do these videos today to get them off my list of shit to do. So I've done a bunch of them all in one shot while the battery goes dead. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. And this has been the Data Dump.